Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tayo Elnathan show. This is Tayo Elnathan. I'm here with my trusted friend here, Kemi. And we're here once again to discuss with you, talk about our show tonight, self-awareness. Yes, self-awareness. Let me say thank you all for joining. I am super grateful and super thankful that you've taken your time out to listen to us. We're super excited to discuss self-awareness today. But before that, we had a horrible snowstorm today, this week in Alberta,
Oh no.
and oh yes, it was horrible. But we're thankful because our hearts and prayers go out to those in BC who
Mm-hmm.
have
A
uh,
flood.
a
The
flood,
that like the
mudslides,
cities on there.
and the entire cities are under. And it looks like as if people are hoarding, and trying to, very pre or post apocalyptic. And it's like at any point in time, I feel the world will end. And I'm like, wow, I should start forgiving everybody that has offended me, or I should start just being nice and be good for goodness sakes. But our hearts and prayers do go out to brothers and sisters out in BC, and I hope that they're all doing fine, and I hope that help gets to them quickly, and I also do hope that we remember them in our prayers. So back to our show tonight, self-awareness. Kemi, what is self-awareness?
I think self-awareness ultimately boils down to how you perceive yourself, right? As we were preparing for this show, I started looking into it to say, what does that mean to us? And I know we've talked about it a few times. It's about, yeah, it's about knowing who you are, and it's not just knowing who you are to say, you know what, I'm Tayo, I'm Kemi, this is me. My like my peas next to my rice, not together, kind of thing. But it's also knowing how you react to things, understanding yourself. And as we grow older and we go through situations, I feel like we learn more about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's very important to know who we are, not just for ourselves, but for those around us. I think, having a conversation earlier, I was talking about how I couldn't do the show last week because I lost my voice and you felt bad for
Mm-hmm.
not calling me. And I said to you,
Mm-hmm.
don't worry about it, because those kind of things don't bother me, because I know we're both very
Mm-hmm.
busy people. And just
Mm-hmm.
because, you didn't check and say, oh, are you okay? It doesn't mean I don't know that. And I said this to you in text, that I know you were thinking about me throughout. And for me, that those are not the kind of things that would bother me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But then you also said I'm the kind of person that I want people to check in, because you know
Mm-hmm.
yourself, right? And so that's this kind of self awareness that I think about is, we know who we are, we've accepted ourselves, and there's some things about us that we can change, and change is always good, and we should always sort of look towards that. But knowing ourselves as who we are, I think that's what self-awareness is all about. And it's important to know that too, because when you relate with people, rather than them trying to figure you out, it's always good to say, this is my type of person, right? And I think it helps with relationships. It helps with just not just, romantic ones, but friendships and all that kind of thing. And of course, when you know yourself, then you can be more at peace with yourself. When I was,
Mm-hmm.
I remember I used to have, I worked with a lady who she was a classic backstabber. She would always say things behind your back. And there was another person who would always say things in front of you. And I said, you know what? I like people to show me their true colors so I know what I'm dealing with. When
Mm-hmm.
I know you're a backstabber, then I can cover my back knowing you're going to stab me at any point in time. Yes, you can be too secure, but when it happens, you're like, you know what? You're a snake. I knew that, and I'm good with it. And I don't trust you.
But do you think that backstabbers know that they are backstabbers? Like I don't know
I
that.
would, I would, I would think that they would know. Like when I in the corporate world, I always said to people, I'm like, I'm a very different person because I can turn around in whichever way, but I
Mm-hmm.
always like to know what I'm dealing with. If I'm dealing with a difficult person, then when I'm difficult, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then when
Mm-hmm.
we have altercations, then it's like, well, you're the same way as I am. And then when I'm dealing with people that are fake, then I'm fake too, because then two fake people, that's your style. I'm meeting you where you dance. And with a backstabber, like, I just know what to expect from you. I know you're going to cut me one way or the other, so I don't put my trust in you. I don't show you all my cards. So when you do what you do best, I let down my guard, it's my fault. right?
Well, a certain level of self-awareness, I guess, also once you're totally self-aware of yourself, then you are, I guess you can see the mile coming, right? You're also aware of people, and when they bring things or when they behave a certain way. And so if you're forgiving towards yourself, then you might be more forgiving towards somebody else. And if you're tough on yourself, you might be tough on somebody else. So also the lenses with which we view ourselves also, matter. But self-awareness, I think for me, the key is the ability and the art to be true to
Mm,
yourself.
mm.
I find that we lie to ourselves a lot. So personal story. This is sharing your stories with Tayel Nathan and Tayel Nathan show. For a long time, I used to be, well, not for a long time, but there was a time in my life when I was very slim. I was slimmer than this, right? And so this story has two
Two
edges,
lessons in there.
two
Okay.
lessons. So there's the one part where everybody told me I was big and I was fat and I was horrible looking. And I didn't, so I wasn't self aware. And I would just think, oh my God, I'm fat, I'm fat, I'm fat, I'm fat. And a couple of, so several years from that, period in my life, I actually now became fat. Then I told myself that if back then I was slim and they told me I was fat. Now maybe I'm really not fat right now. Maybe I'm actually slim because they've lied to me all
No,
this
that's
while. Because I had lost the ability to see
to see.
myself for who I truly was because I'd seen myself through everybody else's
Mhm.
lens, when it came to that aspect of my life. So it took me a long time to finally decide, am I fat or seasonally plump or borderline obese or about to die or like where exactly am I on the spectrum? And I realized that I wasn't very self aware. I'd let people determine for me who I was. They told me who I was. They told me what I looked like. They told me how I should think. I was now this person who didn't know what I wanted anymore. And it's very easy for you to
Mhm.
get into a situation whereby you cannot see yourself. You don't even know how you feel anymore. Somebody has to tell you, this is how you feel. Like, that's how I feel? Oh, okay, then that's how I feel. You know,
And that kind of cuts across like the world we're getting into with social media, right? Where we have
hmm
cancel culture and people just tell you, oh, this thing this person said is not right. But at the end of the day, I was just telling someone, I'm like, what is right and what is wrong and what is bad and what is good? It's all subjective.
Your standards of definitely right and wrong. Like you can't be a killer. That's obviously wrong. But
I
come
mean,
away
but
from the
people
gray
that
area,
no, but that's the gray area, right?
or come away
When
from the
those that
black
go to
and
war,
white. Yeah,
those that go to war and kill people for their own freedoms.
they believed it was the right thing to do. I agree. I see. I
So
know. I'm
that's the
not.
thing, like the whole concept of wrong, right, bad,
It can be
good,
very subjective if you're not
very subjective.
following.
You see a man kills another man, and you go, oh, that man is bad because he killed the other man, and then you find out why he did it. Now, I'm not saying killing is good. I'm saying don't kill anyone. But sometimes when people tell you why they did what they did, you're like, I get it. I get not good, but I get it.
And that's why you see if you subscribe to any of the religious texts, Bible, for example, tell you don't judge.
Don't
Don't judge. Don't
exactly
judge.
that.
Just let it be. But it's very difficult because it's
Oh
easy to judge people. Once again, yeah, being too self-aware, thinking I would never do that. I would never do that,
until
and
you're
then
in that situation.
until you're in that situation, you're like, yeah, you would have, and now you
Mhm.
are. And I know that
Yeah.
that's also a story that there's certain things in my life now that I thought I would like. I have a friend who tells me when before he had his children or her children, she used to judge people who allow their children in the shopping cart
Mm.
because
Oh,
yeah, I know, like, why would you let your children in the shopping cart?
it's the
And I'd
safest place for
laugh.
them. You
I
just,
know.
oh my God.
Now, after having their children, they're like, please sit in the shopping cart.
Yeah, you
What was
insist
I
on
thinking?
it. You carry them and put them in there.
I know. And then now, well, not even babies, like toddlers, the age where
No, my
they're already,
7-year-old, 10-year olds, if they fit,
yeah.
put them in.
yeah, it fulfills because it's easier, it's safer,
Um,
or and so yeah, so being self-aware, it's I guess the point of today's show is to ask that question: are you having honest conversations with yourself? Excuse me.
yeah.
Are you having honest conversations with yourself? Are you being honest? And I mean objectively, because to be totally self-aware, you have to be fully objective.
Absolutely. So when I was prepping for this show, I like to look up things. There's a trend by Harvard University. Was it Harvard University
Hmm.
that kind of talks about the four different quadrants of being
Self-aware.
self-aware,
Hmm.
and he talks about those that care, like those that have a low value of what people think about them. So
Hmm.
it's how people think about you and how you see yourself.
Mm.
And I always, and then there's the introspectors. They have a high, they know themselves, and so
Hmm.
they internalize and seek their own counsel, but they don't seek the counsel of others. And then you have
Hmm.
the aware people. um those are those that they do their own introspective, but they always seek opinions of others. And then you have those who are aloof, who have no idea what's going on, they're just there in the world. And those who have a high opinion of themselves, but nobody else has an opinion of them. Um, and it's interesting because in our world, we walk along people like this every single day. Those who think the world of themselves and no one else thinks anything of them. And I feel like there should be a balance.
Oh
you know
yes.
you should think the world of yourself, but you should also want to say, if I could change one thing, what would that be? And in my work, I was having a conversation with my boss today where I basically every few months, like, how can I be better? What am I doing
Hmm.
wrong? And I ask my team, and I find every time I ask my team, there's always that look of surprise, like, "What you mean you're great?" I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. I know I'm great, but what are those things that I do that you think to yourself, if Mary can stop doing this, like, how is our relationship? How can we improve this?" And we never stop to ask those, like, even in with subordinates, with colleagues, with superiors, and even in our friendships, because sometimes I remember this friend pair when I was in high school. They were best of friends. They spent weekends together. They've been friends since grade two. And this was they broke up in grade 11, grade 12. They were like every time you saw one, you saw the other. Until they broke up, I will be honest with you, I did not know their names. I knew them together, so you would always together. So you call both names and they would both turn around. So they're there. There were a few pairs like that, but those pairs, that's how
Mm,
you see them.
special.
You
Hmm.
just it's when you see them together, TNC, and like, oh wait, TNC, and then whoever's talking to you talks to you. Um, and they loved each other. They were great friends. I remember one time one was having a birthday, and the other one had a scavenger hunt for her that got her around the school. And I thought, oh my, and she put in so much work into it, like to get around the whole high school, talking to all the favorite teachers. And it was things like it was trivia that she was, so that was the kind of level of deepness they had. And then they had a fight.
Fight. Uh-oh. Kemi, I think I lost you there.
Back.
Um, Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I think I lost you for a second. Can you hear
Yeah,
me
my
now?
internet has been very shaky. I think
The weather.
it's the weather.
We're gonna blame global warming for that one.
So, they got into a fight, and in retrospect, when I think about it, one of them thought they had a fantastic relationship, and the other one felt she was being controlled.
And that usually happens. I have heard stories of that also in
Yeah, and
high
then you're
school.
like, what, like,
So
but
well,
it's high school.
and that's the way for those. I guess it goes to say that those relationships are never truly what the same. I have learned in my own little experiences that when you see such close um, relationships and such close, almost too good to be true kind of situations where you're like, is this like Smallville or Pleasantville? Like, I don't understand, where things are just so seamless. It is because somebody has decided to lay down, sacrifice, compromise, you
But
know.
that's when you come in, and I think that's a good topic to talk on is
It,
compromise.
mhm. The
I
problem
think
is
go
when the
ahead.
compromise is not shared equally, and then you have the concept of divorce, because when one person constantly takes the high road, or when the other person takes the path of least resistance. And it's funny how time can pass. You'd be shocked. People stay in bad marriages for 10 years, 15 years, bad friendships for 70, bad churches, bad jobs, because it's convenient. There's a protection, there's a calmness, there's a comfortability, there's a calm, and so something, you're familiar, so you want to stay. And then one day suddenly you become self-aware, like, wait a second, I really don't like this place. I really don't like how she treats me. I really don't like how she talks to me. And I've endured it enough, because you can only go so far. You
Mm.
can only go so far. It's gonna break one day. It's now or later. If it's wrong, it's wrong. It's gonna break. Eventually, it happens. That's just the way it is. There's nothing lasts forever. So.
But when you talked about compromise, let's just touch on that a little because this is something that really
Mhm,
triggers me.
mm,
I know I'm an A type. I'm very out there. And there's another self-aware thing that I think we should take after this that kind of tells you your personality. And
mhm,
I'm being called a dominant personality type. And I don't think
mhm,
that's true primarily, but I'm the kind of person that I say it as I see it. In a lot of my relationships, we have difficult conversations, right? You and I have had one. But I believe that difficult conversations are not arguments. Difficult conversations they don't have to end on a bad note. Um, People will argue. People will have difference of opinions. I find my best friendships are those where we can sit there and have hard discussions about, yo, this thing you did wasn't good. Why did you do it? And we can talk through it and understand where everyone's coming from. I find sometimes people go out of their way for people. And my sister and I were talking about this that when you're compromising for someone, do it because it makes you happy. Do it because you know what I'm supposed to be having dinner, but I'm sitting here with a tire because it makes me feel good, not because I'm doing it for tire. Right? Makes me feel good. Yes, tire's happy. We're having a good conversation, but I'm happy.
good
If for
choice.
some reason you're like, oh, you leave me and I'm by myself, then I'm like, well, I was happy when I did it. I'm good. It's not, oh, Taya, after everything I've done, I sat here before I didn't have dinner with you. That's what bugs me with, compromise. If you're compromising and it doesn't make you feel good, stop. Don't do it. But sometimes we're compromising because we're trying to make the other person happy and we feel like they owe us that happiness.
I see your point. And maybe that is why it never works, eh? Maybe that is the
That's why
point.
never because
Maybe that's why it
yeah,
breaks at the end,
that's
because.
why because sometimes
But then, is
because
that
I
a,
know. Go ahead.
sorry, is there a burden on the person who you're compromising for to recognize that sacrifice? Like, if you know that I'm sacrificing for you, like if I know you're here and you're sacrificing for me and you're doing something for me, is there a burden on me to appreciate that, show appreciation? Because what I think happens also, the flip side of it though, is I do this for you. I think common courtesy, even though you don't have to, I didn't beg you, I didn't ask you, it makes you feel good, or even if it doesn't, you know, um, do I owe you a thank you? Do I owe you a burden of gratitude? Can I show appreciation to you in a way that validates you and your time? Like, when you look at children, for example, you have children, you sacrifice for them. Maybe you should you should be working in a high paying job somewhere, ruling the world, and you choose not to because you want to stay home with your children. I'm not saying that they owe you their life, but do they owe you? Because we stand on the backs of people. We do. Like, look at the entire black race, African Americans. There are people who paid the price. There's got to be a way you honor that, the sacrifice that somebody has
I hear
made
what you're
for
saying.
you. And I think the reason why it breaks, why people, when they compromise for long, and why that relationship breaks, is because the other person has taken them for granted. They've crossed the line and is now in that line of Well, they'll just do it. You know what? You know,
That's
they always stay home. So do you know what I mean? And then they take you for granted, and then it's just muddled and stupid
and
because
that's why I feel it's important. So when I always talk about making French pastry, I don't ever made French pastry before. It is the most complicated thing in the world. And then when you're done, this is what you got. Like look at those dear French what do you call those things that they make with almond
croissant.
flour? Yeah, the croissant's
Oh,
easy, but they have those
I think we have lost Kemi again for our Kemi. Can you hear me? I think you can hear me. But anyways, can you hear me? Yes.
yeah.
Okay, cool.
I gotta change. I gotta fix this internet situation once we get off this call.
It's all
But
right.
French macaroons, it's a
Mm-hmm.
very tedious process. And when you're done, you get this tiny little thing. It's two
Mm-hmm.
bites. And it could take like days to get done. And then you have those cottage cheesy things where it's a process. But at the end of
Mm-hmm.
the day, you get something like this. And it's the same thing with when we think about, going out of your way for people and do they owe you
Mm-hmm.
and do they not.
Mm-hmm.
It's a labor of love, right? And when we think about selflessness, you're
Mm-hmm.
doing things for people to make their lives easy
Mm-hmm.
or to make their lives better. But then if you're doing that, it's because you want to. And I always say to my sister, and I know it's the worst way to think about it, no one owes you anything in this life. The fact that I borrow money from you, I don't have to pay you back. What I pay you back is because I'm a good person. And that's all there is to it. You chose.
I
You chose
disagree.
to borrow me the money because you are a good person. I choose to pay you back because I'm a good person.
You had a contract, you had an agreement,
Oh, what
you know, your
agreement?
money's
I said to you, I said,
binding.
borrow me
Your
money and
word is your bond.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly. But that's the difference between good and bad and good. Like that is the thing, right? Because I don't have to. I'm a good
Well,
person, is why I've
mm,
done it. Right?
well, within the context of proper society and proper behavior,
It's the
I
right thing
just
to
think
do. I'm
I
not
think it's the
like
right
don't get me wrong, it's the right
I
thing.
think it's the right
Definitely.
thing to do.
It's
But
the right
I hear you there about, like, if you can never give what you can, never borrow what you can give. So
it's
if
not just about borrow, like never give
oh sorry,
something that
never
you
learn that you what's
never
that,
learn, never do
what you
things
can
like
give.
don't bend your back backwards for someone because you expect them to appreciate it. Do it because you care for them, you want them to be happy, and you're doing it.
But
Because
then
what is
how long can you do that for? Look at, again, the context of your friends or those two people you
and,
went to
and
high
I'm
school.
I'm very like you know me. I'm very plain. I tell people straight up, like I'm doing this because I want to. I'm doing this because I care for you. I once drove down all the way to Kansas City for a friend because I wanted to do the road trip, and I told her
Yeah.
to her face, I said, "You know that you don't deserve this trip from me. I'm helping you out. I mean, we're great friends. We tell ourselves the truth all the time. But that's the thing. She was very grateful, don't get me wrong. She got me steak, took me out, showed me town. That was great. But
Mm.
that's because she's also a wonderful person.
Person. Okay then.
I could have driven down to Kansas City with her to help her drop off her car, and she could have said, "Thank you, please, you can't stay over. Find your way home. All the
that
best."
that has happened. That can happen.
That
Yes.
can happen. That's a that. Then I would have been like, you know what? It's my fault. It's my like like they say, it's me that did it. So ultimately, I think we put too much not pressure, not pressure's not the word, but we expect too much from people when they're just trying to be basic. It is right for like the good kind of people or our people will see our sacrifices and understand them, but most people don't. Have you ever had someone tell you that they need an iPhone 13 and they just drop it there in the clouds like, "Oh, just send me an iPhone 13 is nothing to you." And you're like, "You know how much those things cost, friend?" But to them, they don't care. And if you do it, they don't understand the value of what sacrifices you've made for them. But you've done it because you care for them. Now, if they don't appreciate it,
Mhm.
the next time they'll come back and say they want a brand new Mercedes, you're going to buy it for them and say this time they'll appreciate it. And they might not, who knows? Because they don't know the kind of sacrifice. And it's not just for, people that are comfortable, but even think about the billionaires of this world. We all would like for people to appreciate what we've done for them, but the fact of the matter is, they don't owe us that. They don't.
Oh,
They're good
well,
people if they do it. And in the
well,
context of friendships, love matches, parents, siblings, kids, it's the same thing. Your kids never said, "Mommy, take care of me." We chose to bring them into this world. We chose to take care of them. We chose to give them the best. If they tell
I
us
hear you.
thank you, they're good kids. If
Who did our job well?
they're kids.
I hear you there. Oh my God, folks, this is the Taya Elnathan show. We're talking about self-awareness, and part of our discussion tonight centers about how well do you know yourself? Do you take time to talk to yourself, to have honest conversations about you, how you feel, what is true, how you perceive yourself? Um, do you look yourself in the mirror and be objective without emotions, without guilt, without disparaging words and thoughts, and say to yourself exactly how it is? Well, if you don't do that, may we encourage you today to start being self aware. I have found that in my life, I know what I don't want anymore. There was a time when I had no idea what I didn't want. Everything was, oh, sure, oh, okay. So I'm learning the subtle art of saying no. No, 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 yeah, no. And I like it. I like that power. I like being able to say no, not accepting everything or wanting to be there for everybody at every time. Say, you know what, this is too much for me. I can't do this right now. This is too much for me on my plate. I'm one person who will take on everything from everybody and then to my own pain and detriment. And I'm learning to say no because I've suddenly become self aware. So, to all our viewers, listeners out there, how self-aware are you? Once again, we are not doctors, we are not psychologists or psychiatrists. We are simply people who are living this world, and we're calling your attentions to certain things that you may not be doing to have an improved thought process that would help you and help us all too. So, Kemi 3.0, Kemi 4.0, what is that looking like? You know,
I
like
mean, it's we're finishing up this year. We have less, maybe
the year's
40
coming to an
days.
end.
We have
Give or take.
give or take 40
60
days.
days maybe. 30 in December, 31 in December. Today's the 18th. So what's that?
40-ish.
20-ish. Mm-hmm.
40-ish.
Ish.
Ish. And we gotta just ask those questions of ourselves going into next year to say, what's your life gonna do differently?
Mm-hmm.
Like the world is moving. We've wasted 2 years with COVID, right? And now we just gotta move on with our lives one way or the other. And I think that brings to point that old statement that life is too short to sit around and put up with people's um people's expectation and opinions of us.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that song when we're growing up by the great Ebenezer Obey, and it talks about a man, his wife, and his child on a donkey, and they're going, and they were all on the donkey. People passed by them and said, "You're very selfish to all of you be on this poor donkey." Then he came down, and his wife and and the wife and the son were on it. And we said, "Foolish man, your wife and your kid are having a good time. You're staying off." So he told them to climb down, and he was on it. They said, "Wicked man, you're on the donkey, and your kids and your wife are walking." Then he put his wife on it, and they said, "Foolish man, why is your wife on the donkey when you and your son are walking?" Then all of them came down from the donkey and they kept walking. And they said, "Foolish man, the donkey is there for you to ride." And that song sort of stuck with me as a child, because this is a world. It doesn't matter what you do. You're not going to please everybody. You
That is true.
just can't. Even
That
the
is
Pope
true.
offends people. And the man
Mm-hmm.
does, like, the Pope offends people. Like, you know?
That is true. I
So
hear you there.
yeah,
No,
I've taken
it is.
it.
It is true, and I think it's important that for the 2 more days till the end of the year, it's time for us to. Well, I am beginning to kind of, I guess, mentally wind down the year and start thinking of how I want my next year to be, and I'm having my own theme. Every year they do these things where they go, this is the year of abundance, or this is the year of greatness, or this is the year of some, and I'm done with all that collective. This is the year of this, because if you don't work towards that or work in that, it won't happen for you. There's no magic in any of these things. There's no, you know, the worst thing anybody can ever do is for you to totally believe in, magic like that, or Disney, the way Disney does poof. I
I
love
mean,
Disney. I mean, I love Lion King, but you know what? Somehow, you gotta tell yourself that there's no magic to this thing. I was listening to somebody, speak, and they were saying, you know what? The reason why children are suffering today is because we tell them you're the best, you're great, you're beautiful, you're this. And then they go outside and they find somebody greater, somebody more beautiful, and somebody more attractive, and somebody better than them. And then suddenly they don't know how to deal with that. They don't know how to handle that. Oh my God, I thought I was the best because in my house I'm the best. Yes, right. Yes, in your house you're the best. But, so we need to change. So, anyway, in my mind, I'm already wrapping up the year, and I'm thinking next year, what am I reading? Mental intelligence, mental transformation, spiritually, financially, in my relationships, with my, with and different kinds of relationship, with your children, with your spouses, with your parents. I'm already kind of thinking, because you find that when you plan towards that, is an aspect of being self-aware. You're able to make your choices, and you get to that point where nothing moves you. You're not rushed. You know what is going to happen. You have a kind of a peace and a calmness about you, and that will be my entire what, 4.0, 3.0
4. I don't know, like, is it
ish,
4.0 ish,
ish, ish.
4.0 ish? And I
Ish.
hear you on that. I think you touched on something. You talked about magic and how magic isn't real, but we have magic. We got to make our own magic.
After you've worked for it, and then it becomes magical when it looks beautiful. Like when you hold your iPhone 13 and it's doing all those weird things, and you're like, wow, that's
Yeah,
magical. But somebody
but you,
worked for that. Somebody thought about that and designed that that
yeah,
that wow
and
feeling.
I get that. Like, I think from your perspective is nothing happens instantly. You got to put the work in.
Like,
But then,
somebody designed the smiley face emoji. As
mhm,
flippant and as flimsy as that smiley face emoji is,
I
somebody
love it.
thought about it. I love it. And when you put smiley face, and you put the kiss face, and you put the weird face, it's like, ah, magic. And then no, somebody worked for it. It didn't just appear. Somebody did that. That's imagination, thought. That somebody did that. And I think what I'm getting myself away from is that things can just happen in a vacuum, and that if you don't sow a seed, something would grow, or that if you don't work, what I mean? Only weeds grow when they're not planted.
But
But
let me shock you. Let me shock you.
okay, tell me.
2022, I am going to be magic. Me is the magic. Not the
Yes,
magic is gonna happen. Me is the magic.
I hear you there, and I agree. But I know you're gonna work hard, and you're gonna put your back into it, and I know you're going to work crazy hard. So as much as you're the magic, and I think you ought to be the magic, it is because when people see you, they'll be so awed about how magical, it has been, but not without the added backup of work and mental transformation, and more hard work. And we see celebrities, we see billionaires, Bezos and Musk, and I like them. I have nothing but respect for them. But they work hard. Like they think about things, and if you I was reading the story of Elon Musk, of how, from South Africa, and I think he registered for a PhD, and he didn't probably spend a semester or a couple of, I don't know, days in there. But I mean, there were days when he slept in an office and he was coding for hours on end and hours on end and doing things. So now you see him without the SpaceX, and then he's naming his children weird names, and you're like, oh, these billionaires. I disagree. I think that he's worked hard. Like
Yeah,
he's
but
earned the right.
he invented PayPal. I think that was the first business he ever sold.
I sold it
Yeah,
and then to Peter Thiel, I
yeah.
think. Yes, it
And when
did.
he sold, did you sell it? When he sold PayPal, he was broke and homeless.
It was what?
it was broke and homeless, so he put everything into it. So he worked hard. And even when you look at
That's,
Jeff
yeah. It was
Bezos,
broke.
Jeff
Yes, it was
Bezos
broken
and all of
homeless.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, when you look at Jeff Bezos, like, it was when he was just starting out with Amazon, everyone thought he was foolish, right?
eBay. It was eBay. I remember. You remember eBay? And I was
Hmm.
so in love with eBay and Meg Whitman and how eBay was, and you had to bid, and you were there all night bidding, 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 bidding,
Yes, yes.
and then eBay went away.
eBay is still there. I mean, it's evolved. It's
Mm.
evolved, but it's still
But
I still
it's
got something from eBay last month.
that's
So I still muddle in those waters. But I get your point though. Like,
oh. Are you there? Okay, 5 seconds.
okay.
Go
I
ahead.
was trying to say that you just don't blow overnight, right? I
It's
mean,
also
you look
that.
at all these artists, you look at someone like Lizzo.
Okay.
Lizzo had been writing songs for people for many, many years.
Years.
Lizzo was living in a car, going to her friends'
Mm-hmm.
places to shower.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, a song came out, and we're like, "Oh, Lizzo, Lizzo, Lizzo."
Issa Rae. Have you heard Issa
Issa
Rae?
Rae story is
Issa Rae.
another one. Like
One.
most of
Mm-hmm.
these celebrities, when you hear all the things that they went through to
Mm-hmm.
finally get
Behind.
that one hit, and that has propelled them, and you're like, "Oh, they just came up overnight." No, 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 no.
No, there's a backstory.
There's a backstory.
There's a consistency to it, and that's what I guess. Part of being self-aware is understanding certain principles that don't break. Consistency, rinse and repeat, each time, each time. This guy was his. I forget his name now. The motivation speaker. You
Tony
probably know him.
Robbins.
No, 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 no. A black guy. Um, he goes, he works at 4 a.m. every day. It doesn't matter
Mm,
if he's in Australia, if he's in Zanzibar, if he's in Madagascar. It could be in Antarctica. 4 a.m. He gets up and he works out, and that is how he's maintained his consistency over years. And then he goes, he probably graduated his bachelor's degree at maybe 30, and then he goes and does his master. I think he did his bachelor's for 7 years and his master's for is it ETO? That's his I keep
uh,
okay, it was a funny guy, and he talks about how he spent so much in school, so long in school that he just thought, "What in the world is this?" But he kept at it and he finished it. And when he graduated, I think his mom was the oldest mom in the crowd. But today he's probably the world's biggest motivational speaker. He is probably, I think, the world's biggest motivation speaker. But then it talks about consistency, self-aware. You gotta know yourself. You gotta do it again and do it again. It doesn't matter how. Take out the emotions, take out the pain. You just do it and you keep doing it, and eventually it works out. And rinse and repeat, drip, drip. And it talks about that. And you know, I think for me, 2022 is going to be the year where I test out consistency theories.
oh, it is. Let me just tell you, it is amazing. Um, and the COVID messed with me a little because I was very consistent. Every
Mm-hmm.
day, Monday to Friday, I could tell you where I would be at exactly what
Mm-hmm.
time, what day of the week. And then
Mm-hmm.
COVID happened and everything just went to
Everything,
shite.
and that can happen. Yeah.
Exactly. And now 2022 is my year to regroup and recollect. Because 2020, I thought, okay, I won't change anything because the world's going to come back to normal. And then I did something very foolish at the end of 2020 that led me to 2021. And I thought 2021 is my year of taking a break from adulting. And I'm going back into that business in 2022. And I'm going back to my consistency. And I can tell you that consistency is key. You
It's
do it,
important.
and that's something that we're trying to do with this thing, you and I, when we stay consistent with our show, same
And
day
same day,
every week.
every week, same day, every week, same day, every week. Give or take two differential there. But you know what? Every week I like that consistency. Same day.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. It always pays off. Like when you look at everyone, you look at athletes, look at, people who've made it. Look at even, every time you've tried to balance numbers or figured out an efficient way of doing something. Consistency. You
You gotta
make the
do it the
best
same
cake
way.
when you try out the same recipe over and over again.
Yeah, and it's better. You know what?
Mhm.
Anyhow, to be consistent with our time, we've done that
Yes.
thing again where we have been consistently over. over the limit. But anyway, let's end the show, guys. This is the Tile Nathan Show with Kemi here. It is today we talked about self awareness. If you have not practiced the art of self awareness, please start doing that. Once again, disclaimer: we are not doctors, psychologists, or psychiatrists. We are simply human beings living this life, and we are hoping to change your mindset so that you can have a more productive existence. So I think next week we start the book, the March of the Dance of Anger. I read Lemon. I bought the book, and I haven't started to read it, but I will start now. My sister took the book and she starts to read it before me.
What did she
So
think?
I haven't asked her, but I see she's reading it. So I'm going to have to take it from her. We haven't had a chance to discuss. I think she likes it because she hasn't dropped it. Usually, within the first 5 pages, you can tell that.
No, it's a really good book and it
I'm
speaks
sure
to
it
us.
is. I'm sure
Yeah,
it
I
is.
might
So
just get
within
it. I might just read it again just before we talk.
I think I'm gonna start that. And so yes, I'm gonna start that. So join us next week, guys. We're gonna start discussing this book, The Dance of Anger. I read Lemon. Join us. We're gonna talk about it. Hopefully, if we're able to bring the lady herself to our show or not, I don't know.
That'll be good. I mean, we just tweet her and see what she says. It's
I
social
feel
media. You
yes.
never know.
You never know. It might be actually to be interesting to do that. But anyway, guys, we're over our time. It's been a pleasure as always. Thank you all, Kemi. This has been such a beautiful show. Thank you so much. You bring such great perspective as always,
Thank
and
you.
to our discussions. Yes, it is. This is it. Thank you, guys. I'm going to go
Thank
ahead and end the show now.
thank
And
you.
to our folks in BC, stay safe. Our thoughts and prayers are with you. And have a good weekend, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.